Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to share how I manage my time for maximum efficiency. So over the past couple of years, I've had a lot of people ask me the question of, Nate, how does it seem like you're able to travel and seemingly hanging out all the time, but still getting quite a bit done in regards to work? And so that's what I'm going to share with you in today's video, because my idea of working and having fun, I like to do both, and I don't think that you have to totally sacrifice, having fun by just working all the time or being productive 24/7 and working 18 hours a day. That would kind of suck. So let's talk about how I manage my time, and I think this could apply to pretty much everyone out there, whether you're a student and you have to study for a bunch of exams and you want to manage your time better for that, or maybe you have a job and you get home from work and you feel like you have 50 different tasks around the house that you have to deal with. You have to do the laundry, you have to mow the lawn, you have to take out the trash, you have to take care of the kids, and suddenly you feel like you have no time left in your day. Or maybe you're running a business and you're looking for more time so that you can achieve more with that business. So let's talk about this. I think it's applicable to almost anyone out there, because time, as always, is one of the most valuable resources that we have. So we want to make sure we're using it effectively. And there's a big difference between being busy and being productive. So you don't have to be a freak about this. You don't have to count every single second of your day. But I'm going to share about 6 or 7 different tips throughout this video that I use throughout my everyday life to manage my time as best as possible. And so the first thing you have to do, and I've mentioned this before in a video, so I'm not going to go too in depth on this point, is that you really do need to track your time for at least a few days and see where all of your time goes in 5-minute increments to see kind of, to gauge where you are. Just like if you want to start saving money, the first thing you need to do is start to just take an overall analysis of where you stand currently. So if you want to manage your time efficiently, you need to go at least a couple of days of tracking where every 5 minutes goes, and then you'll start to learn things about yourself. So for example, for me, when I did this a few years ago, I tracked a couple of my days, and I realized that I was spending like 3 or 4 hours per day eating food. I'm just a really slow eater, apparently. I never realized this until I started tracking my time, but I would spend an hour eating breakfast, an hour eating lunch, an hour eating dinner, and then like an hour eating like a second dinner. And this added up to probably about 4 hours per day of eating food. And so once I started to realize these things of like eating food or certain other activities that would take up a lot of time throughout my day, whether this was having to talk to people, deal with customer service, you can start to track where your time goes and get a better understanding of where you stand. So that's just like a prerequisite before you even do any of these other tactics and tips that I share in this video, is to kind of get a feel for where you stand at the moment in regards to your time. But let's get into these actual tips here. So the first one is known as Eat the Frog. And I think it was Mark Twain who came up with this. I'm not sure. Somehow he's getting the credit for it in this video. But eating the frog, essentially what the idea of that was is that I think Mark said that if you every day woke up and you had to, eat a frog, and you just did it in the morning right away, then you'd go throughout the rest of that day knowing that you probably got like the worst thing out of the way right away. You ate the frog. It might have been kind of disgusting, but you got it out of the way in the morning. And so the rest of the day you can go knowing that you already had to deal with that and it's already dealt with. So that's kind of the idea of that. You can apply that to other areas of life and tasks that we might have set for us for the day. So typically what we do as humans, we just like to push things off that we're dreading, that we don't want to deal with, maybe an annoying task or one that's just like really, really boring. Like for example, filing your taxes. Who likes filing their taxes? Actually, I like doing taxes. It's fun. But most people don't like taxes and filing their taxes and learning about tax codes. So they tend to just push it off. And they say, you know what, I'll put this on the bottom of my to-do list. And then they just happen to never get around to it. So what you do with eating the frog with that technique is you just tackle it right off the bat. Now, another great reason why you want to consider using this tactic of eating the frog is that your brain is going to be functioning much better earlier in the morning, earlier, at least in the first half of the day, as compared to if you're trying to do a big task at like 10 p.m. before you go to bed. Your brain's already been running for 16 hours, and you're not going to be as efficient and effective as what you might have been when you first woke up, or at least in the first few hours of the day. Okay, so I would say that this next point is probably going to be the most important in this video, one that I really use when determining what I should be doing throughout my day. And it's by setting an hourly rate for anything that you do, regardless of whether you're trying to grow a business or an entrepreneur, or if you're just living life and you don't really care about money whatsoever, it doesn't really matter. I think it's great when you're managing time to always have an hourly rate of what's worth your time, so that you can make decisions better. This is how I make a lot of decisions, not all, but a lot of decisions. So I've used this example before, but let's say that you have to get somewhere and you can take a bus or you can take an Uber, and your hourly rate that you put for yourself is, say, $15 an hour, that your 1 hour of your life is worth $15. So if you said it like that, which I think was probably my initial point when I was in college, I said 1 hour of my time is worth $15, then I would, say you have multiple ways of getting somewhere. You can take a bus and it might take an hour on the bus, or you can take an Uber and it might only take 45 minutes. So then you start to run the numbers in your head and you say, well, okay, the Uber is $8. That used to be cheap back in the day when I was in college. So the Uber's $8 and the bus is $1. So I'm going to save $7 by taking the bus, but it's going to take an extra 45 minutes, run the numbers in my head, realize that, you know what, I'm better off just taking the Uber, saving the 45 minutes, and I get that time to enjoy it somewhere else. And so I'm always running those numbers in my head. You don't have to calculate this for every single thing that you do. Like, you're not going to go to church and try to calculate whether this is worth your dollarly amount that you value yourself at, because that'd be kind of foolish. But generally speaking, that this is what I like to do when making decisions of, should I take on a new project? Should I start this new business? Should I start a new YouTube channel? And I start to calculate these and I say, my time is worth X amount of dollars per hour. It's definitely gone up over the past couple of years. Every year it goes up at least 3 or 4-fold for the past 4 years or so. But setting that dollarly rate really helps me make decisions and manage my time so much more efficiently. So the next thing that I've learned for managing my time, it's known as the Swiss cheese method. And I don't know who the hell comes up with these names for these, but I learned this a while ago as well. And the Swiss cheese method, it looks at when you're managing your time and you're thinking about tasks that you have to do throughout the day, you can break these tasks down into much smaller increments, bite-sized increments, rather than trying to tackle this massive thing. So that's kind of the whole, there's holes in Swiss cheese. I guess that's the analogy there that people use for why it's called the Swiss cheese method. Like, you're poking holes in a really big project or a really big task. And so, let's say that you wanted to write a book. Instead of just having on your to-do list of write a book, I mean, hell, that's huge, right? Like, that's going to take a very long time. You're probably going to have to write 100,000 words. And likely, you're just going to keep pushing it off because that's a massive, massive goal and task that you have to do. So instead, you start poking holes in it and you start small with it, right? And so you say, I'm going to do 2,000 words per day is what I'm going to write, or I'm going to write for 1 hour per day. And you use the Swiss cheese method to accomplish much larger tasks or much larger goals, but you do it in smaller increments. So that's the idea there. And I use that also with certain things that I really don't like doing, things that kind of annoy me that I know are going to take time and they're tedious and I don't want them to take up my entire day. I'll just put them into smaller bite-sized increments overall. So a couple more tactics here that I want to share with you for managing my time. And I think one of the biggest ones that you have to understand is being very, very careful with your yeses and with your nos. Because what I learned is that everybody wants your time. Everyone wants your time. Whether this is, your realtor or this is your friends or your family, although, you got to spend a lot of time with your family. I love doing that. But everybody wants your time. And so you have to prioritize some of these things. And you have to start to realize that you can't say yes to everything. I think I watched Yes Man a couple too many times, the movie, and I would just start saying yes to everything. And eventually I realized I never had any time because my friends would say, Nate, you want to hang out? Do you want to go do this? You want to go do that? You want to go to the Phillies game? You want to go on vacation? I would say yes, 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 yes. Suddenly, I'm barely living my own life because I'm living in everybody else's life. I'm doing all these other things for people. I'm helping people move from one apartment to another because everybody needs a truck to help move. And there's all these other things that happen that come up where suddenly you're just kind of getting dragged around from everybody who needs favors from you and asks if you want to do something, and you have no time to yourself. So learn to say no so that you can start really prioritizing the things that you actually truly want to do, and try not to get guilted into doing too many things. I've gotten a lot better at saying no. I'm still not the best at it, but realizing that your yeses and nos are very important, and you have to be very selective about what you say yes and no to. Now, this doesn't mean that you should just go and say no to everything. I mean, I still go on a lot of vacations. I have a lot of fun, but I'm more selective about it. So here's the other two. try not to answer immediately when people are texting you or messaging you, emailing you. This would seem like common sense, but it's really something that I realize a lot of people actually fall victim to. Is if somebody texts you or emails you, we instantly respond, and then they text us back, and then we text them back. Suddenly 30 minutes goes by, 45 minutes of text conversation going back and forth, back and forth. And I feel like it eats up a lot of time. Imagine if you have 5 or 6 or 10 people doing that per day. I noticed as sort of my YouTube channel grew and everything, I would have more and more and more people reaching out to me every single day, to the point where, maybe I have 50 different people texting me at any given time. If I was to go and have to respond to everybody at the same time, it would be really, really time consuming. It would be energy draining, and I wouldn't get very much done. So I block all of that into one period where every couple of hours I will respond to everybody. I'll respond to all the text messages rather than doing it as they come in, because that just means that you have really no time. And that kind of falls in line with block scheduling as a whole, but I've mentioned that before in the past on this channel, so we're not going to go in depth on block scheduling and how important that really is. If you want to learn about it, just do a Google search, block scheduling. It's a game changer for sure. And overall, though, I think the number one thing that actually helps me manage my time, be more efficient, and be more productive is taking breaks and is taking vacations. And this can be kind of counterintuitive for some people because, there's a lot of Gary Vaynerchuks out there telling you to just like put your head down and grind and just work and work for 18 hours a day and sleep 5 hours a night. I don't think that's very effective. And there's a lot of studies that show that once you get to a certain point, and I forget what the exact amount of hours per day of working it is, but once you start working more than 10 or 12 hours per day, you're not going to actually be that much more productive after that. It's sort of like this diminishing marginal returns that you'll see in terms of productivity if you're working too much. But also, you really do have to have fun in life, so try not to be too much of a workaholic. It depends on your goals, but this is why I like to be productive, efficient, because it allows me to have more time for vacations. But vacations in themselves can actually make me more productive and overall just happier as a person, so that's why I do them. Yeah, that's the biggest techniques that I use to balance my time. I'm not afraid to take vacation. Some of my best ideas come when I'm swimming in the ocean somewhere and I'm not at a desk, working all the time, because that's hard to come up with cool ideas when you're working and you're working on little tasks, and it's hard to do that. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you found some value in it. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this. I can certainly make them. We have lots of more ideas that I want to share with everyone. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see everybody in next week's video.